bring you over so you can see my little 2-point. Nice little buck. He's young, so it'll be nice, tender, good meat for the freezer. So I got it in the field, pulled everything out, split the sternum, obviously split the throat to bleed out. So now, for tonight, it is freezing cold here and windy and unpleasant. So I'm just going to get this boy skinned, quartered, and then I'll stick him in one of the freezers and work on processing the meat over the next couple of days. So let's get started with skinning. So if I show you every step of the process, you'll be here all night with me watching. So I'll just kind of go over what I do. I'm not a professional by any means. I've just done some field dressing. There's better ways out there. There's people who are faster at it, but it works for me and it gets the job done and it gets the meat in my freezer. So I go with it. Sometimes I get stuck and wing it, but like I said, meat in the freezer. I'm the one cooking it. I don't care if it looks great. So we're going with it. So obviously you can see I've got him hanging. The little spot in the hock here is great in that tendon to hang him from. And then I usually start up here on the hams. So I start in this spot, get a little cut going up. I usually skin up to about where I am in this tendon because I don't want to cut that and the whole thing falls down. Done that before. So I usually skin up to about here. So I'll start on this ham, peel it back, do the same on the other one, get it back over the butt a little bit, and then I'll come down the side, get it over the stifle. And then once I get the hide down to about here, I'll go around to the back where it'll be kind of stuck up on the tail. I'll get the tail free, get the butthole, the poop chute, all of that. And then once you're down below the legs, you're kind of home free on the rest of this deer here. You can just pull this hide down. A lot of it'll come off just with pressure and pulling. And then you kind of work your way around the shoulders, and I can kind of show you some of that when I get down there. And then again, you're home free to just kind of pull it down to the neck. So yeah, I'll show you parts and pieces of that, but that's a high level what I like to do. Again, not a professional, but it works for me, so we go with it. So here I'm just going to start on that ham and take it up. So skinning, not as hard as everyone wants to make it out to be. If you're trying to cape something or make a nice skin that you're going to keep, yeah, you got to be a lot more careful. But if you're just getting meat in the freezer like what I do, you know, just your average everyday hunter, this is a little 1x2, I'm not keeping him, I'm not keeping him, nothing like that. So I don't care if I get a few holes in the skin. But you're going to hold, I'm right hand dominant, so I'm cutting with my right, holding with my left, pulling that skin out, pretty firm pressure, and then you're going to see all that sinew in there. I'll get you a closer look in a minute. You're going to be able to see that sinew in there, and you're just running your knife down that sinew. And if I'm going to cut, I'd rather cut the hide than the meat. It's not the end of the world. It just makes for less pretty meat. But I'm just going to pull, cut, same thing while I'm going up here. When I can, I'll slide my knife underneath just to get more of a cut coming up that skin. The hair is actually what's going to kill your sharp blade. So the less hair you can cut, the better. Just keep working my way up and around, up and around, up and around. Pull that sinew out. Get up a smidge higher. Great. So I shot this buck last night, right at the end of shooting light. It was 5 something. And then kept him in the garage overnight so he was cold. Field gutted on the spot, and then kept him out in the garage overnight. So he's been sitting a little bit because I was not going to deal with all of this last night. So there we go. Kind of got a decent start going there. Take this side up over the butt. Keep this ham exposed. The thing about letting them sit for a little while is they dry out. And some of this meat gets a little more hard, a little more crusty, so getting them started can be a little bit harder. It's not horrible, it just takes a little more cutting. The more fresh they are, the easier it is to just pull the hide off. When they're cold, a little more cutting than pulling. Alright, so we got a good start going here. I'll get you a closer look. Alright, so here's what I've got so far. I got trimmed up. You can see that where I was talking about how it gets more dried out here. So this is dried out. This is the line of where the hide was. So you can see I got cut up here, went up a little bit. This is that tendon I'm talking about that I get scared of, so I avoid that one. So I've got that pulled back, got it down, kind of around the stifle here. I got it around to the back of the leg, got the hide cut off from the leg here, and then kind of pulled back to the butt. So once you get to this point, this is when I start doing the grab. So generally I'd get both to about this far, but I'll just go ahead and show you since we're here, the pull that I'm talking about. So once you're here is when you can just grab it and start pulling it down. Like I said, when it's cold, it's a lot firmer. So it takes pretty heavy, like you can full on lean on this stuff. And then you just work your way down. I gotta clean up the butt and the tail, so it's not gonna go real far. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna work on getting this other ham to about the same, so it's looking like this. I'm gonna clean up right here in this tail area so that I can get it pulled down. And then we'll work on pulling it down the back. So, all right, I'll show you that when I get that far. All right, I've got the other side cut up to match here. So you can see I'm up to, not quite the hock, but pretty close. You can take that as far as you want. I find no use for the meat from there up. There's not really anything there. This up here is just bone. This part here is good meat, but right about here is where we stop having any meat on there. So I don't get anything further up the leg. You can see where I've got the butt caught up here, so the tail is already cut off. I did that last night. And then I've got skin down over the hams, over those little butt cheeks there. And then same to the front, got it down over the stifles. Now I'm just gonna work on pulling that hide down. Like I said, it's pretty stiff when it's cold. You should be able to just grab, pull her down. Oh, don't be afraid to grab that tail. Pulling it down. Those spots where you get hung up, don't be afraid to use your knife. Break it loose. Keep it going. But wherever I can, it's just a lot faster. Pull it down. You can tell. Take some force to get it going. Get it moving down. Alright, now we're talking. Lots of good fat on there. Look at all of that. Well, you can't really see because of the light, but I'll show you a little closer here in a little bit. Lots of fat on this guy. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to give myself some little handles here. Take my knife. And I'm just going to poke a hole in the skin. Something I can stick a finger or two through. So I got something to grab onto. I'm going to do the same thing over here. This side's sticking up a little stiffer. Grab those. Push down. There we go. Okay. Alright. Now we're getting to some of the tougher stuff, so I'm going to start using my knife again. Alright. So you can see some of that fatty stuff now that I was talking about. We're down the butt pretty good. I'm getting gummed up now on the sides here. You can see how much of that is holding on. So I'm just going to go back to cutting for a little bit and keep working it down. The thing with skinning, if you're brand new to it, like I said, you're only cutting that sinew. So when I'm pulling this out, I'm taking my knife blade and I'm cutting towards the hide, like this. I don't want to cut the meat. Now granted, there's not really much right here in this rib cage, but I want to make sure that I'm saving the meat, cutting towards the hide. Here, you see there's a little thin layer of meat. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't care about that stuff. That's not substantial meat that I'm going to eat on, so I don't mind cutting that. We're just coming through, keeping my blade towards the hide, and working my way down. There we go. Now I loosen up, pull a little better. Then I come over here, do the same thing on this side. Kind of getting gummed up here in the front of this rib cage. So I'm just going to cut for a minute. Some of this is where it dried out overnight. So I'm just making sure I get that loosened up. Pull her down some more. A little bit of cut and pull, cut and pull, cut and pull. Keep working my way down the rib cage. Yeah, there's a tick. A note, whenever you process deer, make sure you shower when you're done. Check for ticks. It depends on where you live, but most deer you get nasty ticks with. So make sure you're being careful. Alright, I'm going to keep doing a little cutting, a little pulling, a little cutting, pulling. Sharp knife is the way to go. The smaller the blade, the easier it is to work it in there. Like I said, you want to not cut hair whenever possible. There's another little tick. And just cutting towards the sinew. Let's see if I can adjust so you can see what I'm doing down here a little bit better. It's a little tight. I don't have tripod or anything out here, so we're just kind of making it work as best we can. There we go. Can you see? A little better. So here, you still can't. Let me try that again. Hold on. All right. Now you can see. Yes, you are in the tractor tire, so just bear with me. Okay, so here you can see that sinew I was talking about. That's that white, ooey gooey, almost soapy looking stuff. So that's where you can cut with your knife. Here's my little handle I put in the hide. Ow, poke me with his antler. So I'm just pulling while I'm cutting, and then just cut that sinew right there. Keep my blade towards the hide, so I'm cutting more like this. And I'm just working my way down. Cut, pull, more sinew gamming me up, cut. So you can see right here, I nicked through the layer of fat. It's not in his meat yet, but that's what you want to avoid when you can. I'm just doing that to show you. That's what you want to avoid when you can, so you're not cutting up your meat as you go. Pull down where I can, cutting that sinew. Here I've got an exit wound, so it's a little gross. I'm just going to cut through that, so I'm not pulling it through the rest of the deer. Ooh, that is a little gross. Alright, keep working my way back around. Cut. Get myself a new handle so I can pull a little easier. Pull. Cutting. If I was a little stronger, I would just pull this hide off. But I'm tired. It's tough, and I'm not in the mood. I have a knife in my hand. I'm going to use it. Oh. My way around. Coming over to this side, doing the same thing. Little pull. We're stuck. So I'm just going to cut here. I've got some of that dried out skin and meat from being open all night, so I just got to get through that to a point where I can pull again. There we go. Keep cutting my way down. Here I've got my entry. Alright. Getting some good progress coming down. Trim around that. That's disgusting. I don't want that dragging through the rest of my meat. It usually, obviously depends on your shot placement, but usually doing a deer, you're gonna lose some meat to the shot. Some people can do head shots, neck shots, something like that, or they can drop them and not lose any meat. That's awesome. I never plan on doing a shot like that. I would rather have the confidence of knowing I'm hitting heart and lungs rather than taking the risk on the smaller target. It's a good shot. I've never had a problem. I've never lost one. It happens though, even the best hunters. So I try to minimize where I can, make sure it's a shot I feel good about. Because my first priority is always going to be meat in my freezer. This is my livelihood. I don't buy meat in the grocery store. Except for chicken, I will buy chicken. Just because I go through it so much, I can't raise enough chickens. So this is my livelihood. This is what we're eating on for the next year. Not just him, but the animals we hunt, the animals we process, are what we have to eat. So I make sure and do my best. Alright, I went and pulled my winch in a little bit, so I'm not bending down quite so far working on him. So I've got the part I'm working at actually closer to shoulder level to make this easier for everyone. You could see that exit wound I was talking about right here through the ribs. So I didn't really lose too much meat. Pretty good shot placement. I was a little low, a little farther back than I would have liked to be. He was quartering away a little bit when I shot. So I could have been a little farther forward, but it dropped him. He ran 20 yards and he went right down. So I'll take it. That's good. So more of the same. Pull and cut. Pull and cut. Pull and cut. Start hitting the shoulder right about here. So here's where I want to be careful because I've gotten myself into trouble before. Fun fact, shoulder blades aren't attached to anything on the body except for my muscle. So if you're not paying attention and you cut too far deep, you'll find yourself cutting in against that body wall and you'll just cut the shoulder off with the hide. Or you'll get all gummed up and wonder what you're doing wrong. Like, that's a common issue I have. So right about here is when I stop. I'm going to come down to the leg and I'm going to skin up the leg to meet where I'm at so that I don't accidentally do that shoulder wrong. People who are real good at this, like my husband, he can do this way better than I can, but here I am. My dear, I shot it. I'm going to deal with it. People who are real good at this probably don't have to do it this way, but since I'm not real good at it, this is what I do because I know it works. So, and once I get down to about the elbow here is when I kind of pause a little bit and come up from the other way. Another note about this, try to keep this as clean as you can when you're going. That might be stating the obvious, but you can see up here, I'm trying to avoid getting any of the hair on this, getting anything from my entry and exit wounds on this. This is all clean meat. The more hair you get on your meat and your carcass when you're skinning, the more gamey it's going to taste. So cleanliness is key when it comes to processing your meat. Seems obvious, but worth repeating. So kind of the same over here, just cleaning it up. This is my other wound, a little messy, so I'll make sure I'm not spreading that around. Give myself another pull on this side. All right, same deal. Right here, actually, this is a great example of it. I don't know if you can see that, but you see how this muscle just got a lot thicker right here? So that's the shoulder blade starting to kick in. This right here is what I need to make sure I'm getting under when I quarter off these shoulders. I'm quartering now. So when I'm quartering off these shoulders, I need to make sure I'm under that, not coming over when I'm getting that off. So I'm gonna pause for a moment on the back. I've got that pretty far down. And I'm gonna start coming up from the leg. Alright, so I'm taking legs off. You can see I'm down on one over here. I'm going to go ahead and get this one off too. Realized I should show you this. So I'm not a huge fan of sawing, cutting, using nippers, anything like that, unless I have to. Only time I'm going to use a saw is splitting the pelvis and then on the neck. Even on the neck, a lot of people can get away without it. I get frustrated and can't do it, so I just get a saw and cut when that's an option. But anything that's a joint, anything that has motion, you can get through with just a knife. You don't need to cut legs. So, what I do for this, I am not the fastest, I'm not a professional. You want to see some guys who really know what they're doing. You watch my husband, you watch my brother, they can do this in seconds. It takes me a minute. So. But, I'm going to start by just cutting on the back of the knee here. I'm just getting through the hide. That's going to be step one. I'm working around the back and the sides, just getting through the hide. And then anything soft tissue on the back and sides, tendons, ligaments, anything that's going to give and cut them. So there's a pretty decent tendon and ligament here on the back, as well as one that kind of goes through the middle. There's some joint tissue or joint fluid in here. I'm just cutting all of this as much as I can from this angle on this side. You can kind of feel the leg extending more as I do this. Once I get through all of this pretty well, I'm going to bend the knee forward, or bend the knee up, back, whatever, bend the knee. And then I'm going to keep coming around the sides. I felt that one give up here in the toes. I'm going to keep coming around this side. And then the fun part right here, you're going to see the leg give once I get through this tendon. So I'm just going to cut straight right here until that kind of pops and it gives right here. There. See? It just folds right up. Alright, so I'm through that big tendon. I'm going to carry it around the sides. Make sure I've got that all the way cut. Alright, and then we should be through most of the soft tissue. It usually takes me a few. Again, I'm not the best at this. But at this point, let's see if we got everything. So we should be able to just twist, just like that. And we should get just a little bit left hanging on. That should be easy to see. We can just cut right through. Boom, just like that. Foot's off, good to go. Now, I'm going to work my way up the leg a little bit and deal with that shoulder. So for this part, coming down the leg, I'm going to grab right here on the sternum. This is the part I'm going to take down. I get this, too far, come back. I'm going to get this part here, down to the elbow, and then I'm going to take this down the leg the rest of it. Let me turn you a little so you can see here more than me. That's why I'm not fun to look at, but this is way better. Alright, so I'm just working right here. This is pretty stiff and dried out from just being open last night. So I'm not getting a ton, just pulled. So don't be afraid to cut. Alright, so here's the elbow. I'm down about as far as I want to go to make sure I'm not cutting off the shoulder blade. And then I'm just going to start cutting through the hide here to get to the leg. You can kind of see where I'm going here to get to that elbow. And then I'm going to start coming down kind of the inside of the leg right here. Like I said, hair is what's really going to kill your blade. So as much as possible, I work. Alright, so I've got it up the leg here. Hide has been freed from leg. Beautiful looking leg there. I do use the meat on this part of the leg. Usually I'll just do a shank roast. I keep it on the bone. I think it adds a lot of flavor to the roasts. And I'll just wrap this up, freeze it. When I'm ready, pull it out, just throw it in the crock pot, cook it on low for the day. Works out great. Flavor's amazing. So I do use that part. Not everybody does. Alright, so for this shoulder, where the shoulder blade's coming through, and that a little more. Now I'm going to work up from the leg. Like I said, I want to make sure I'm not cutting that off. And then just kind of work my way up from here. Again, not the fastest. If you want to see a pro, this is not the video for you. This is the video for the do-it-yourself, figuring this out kind of person. So, here's what I've got. I need myself another handhold. Sorry, he's spinning really bad, so it makes it a little harder to show you. I'm just working my way up from here. Alright, you can see where it would be easy to go through right here. That's what I'm trying to avoid. Make sure I'm keeping that shoulder blade intact while I'm working my way down. Okay, another handhold here. Pulling this back down. Can't obviously get too far because I still got to do this other side on the shoulder, but I can kind of show you on this one. You can already see where I'm at. Getting this hide over the shoulder. And keep going. There we go. That's beautiful. So once I'm ready to quarter, I'll show you that here in a little bit. I got a little bit more to do yet. Once I'm ready to quarter, you can just pick this up, bring your knife down the back of that shoulder blade, and she'll come right off. It's nice and easy. So, all right, we're kind of over most of that shoulder there. Get this front of the shoulder cleaned up. Okay. Before it's going to go much farther, I got to get the other side caught up. So I'm going to spin them around. Do the same thing over here. I'm going to get down this leg, get down that shoulder, and get the hide off to match. Alright, little change in lighting. I had to unplug my lights to plug in my saw. Ugh, Sawzall works great for this. If you're in the woods, handsaw does the job. It's not that bad. But I'm at home in the shop. I have the tools here. Heck yes, I'm going to use them. So I cut down through all the meat to get to the neck. I'm just going to choppy. I've got my garbage bag down here in the hopes that it will just fall right in. Most of the hide's already in the bag, but it just makes cleanup a little faster, a little bit easier, a little cleaner. Alright, so I'm just going to cut through this neck right here. Boom, just like that. I will say, this is easier with two people, but Josh is on baby duty while I'm out working on this, so do what I can. Alright, I'm going to get my lights plugged back in, and then I'm going to start working on quarters. I'm going to get these shoulders off, and then I'll drop them down and deal with the butts. Alright, I've got the hide bagged up, head bagged up. I've got a clean garbage bag here below me. I'm gonna put my two shoulders into one bag, and then I'll put each butt in its own bag. I'm just bagging them up right now. I'm gonna keep them cool tonight overnight, and then work on processing meat at a different time. I'll work on that tomorrow over the next couple of days till I get everything processed and in the freezer. So for these shoulders, I'm just going to come, kind of like we talked about, and pull it up. Unfortunately, this is a little bit messy on this one because this is my exit, so it's a little, I'm gonna have to do some trimming work on this one. But I'm just going to pull it up and start cutting through here and get this guy off. Again, easier with two people. I'm just going to kind of stand inside here and use my back to keep this other leg out of my way and to keep him from spinning. And I'm just cutting down this shoulder blade. Just follow alongside the ribs. You'll find the shoulder blade in there. And then you'll just keep cutting. Comes up the rib cage up here. Cutting. Here she comes. Just about free. The hard part is to not drop this, which is why I put my bag below me, because it's surprisingly slippery and surprisingly heavy, to be honest. Like, this doesn't look like much, but there's a lot of weight behind one of these shoulders. I don't know if you can see any of that while we're spinning around on my gamble, but you get the gist. Okay. And we are free on the shoulder. Going in the bag. One. Flip it around and do the same thing on this side. Just cutting it free. My video might cut out on me here in a second, but do the same thing. Just cutting down this shoulder blade. This one's much cleaner since I don't have my exit over here. A little harder to keep it from spinning around, but do my best. Cutting through. Boy, in the face. And we are free. Another shoulder in the bag. Alright, I'm going to go drop this down a little bit, and I'm going to trim out some of this rib meat. I do use some of it. There's not a ton, but I take what's big pieces. Make sure I get the tenderloins out of here. and these back straps all before we take the quarters off. So the tenderloins are on the inside right here. Let me grab you so you can see here. All right, tenderloins are these pieces of meat right here. A little bit hard to see through the fat right now, but super, super good cut of meat right there if you haven't had it. Tenderloins are the bomb. And then I'm going to get the back strap. So the back strap runs all along both sides of the spine. It's this good chunk right here. So I'm going to cut that next. So I'm going to get our tenderloins out of here first. On a side note, I do prefer to get my tenderloins when I gut them. I should have gotten these out last night because they can dry out. They're not too dried out right now, but they can dry out. So I usually try to pull those when I gut, just because. And then I often will end up just cooking those up right then and there. Obviously I didn't with this guy, but it's a great hunting camp food. So what I'm doing with these, I'm just sticking my fingers in right now. You can see I'm not even cutting. And I'm just running my fingers alongside this muscle. I'll get you closer so you can see again. The more of this you can do without cutting, you get just a little more cleaner meat. So you can see where I'm reaching in. This is the tenderloin right here. I can just hook my fingers alongside it, work my way down, slide up. I'm just grabbing this meat, and then I'm getting a little bit more of it when I grab. So just working my way up. You will have to cut here at the top. You can't just, well, maybe you could rip it off. I can't. So let me put you down again so I can grab my knife. Alright, so I've got a pretty good handle on both sides. I can make a fist holding that tenderloin. So it's nice and loose. I'm going to cut the top of this so I can pull it down. And I'm going to cut the bottom. Don't even have to cut the bottom. It just came right out. So here's the tenderloin. Best cut of meat right there. It's not a big one, but it's the best one. It's a clean bag with tenderloins and back straps. Let's grab the other guy. Again, we got one on both sides of the spine, so there's two of them in here. Do the same thing, just run my fingers up. Big old chunk of fat out of the way. Whew. Look at that. Alright, got it exposed from all the fat. Same deal, running my fingers till I can make a big fist, holding that tenderloin. It's free on the bottom. Pull it up, and a little cut on that top part. Boom. Another tenderloin, there she is. Beautiful little fillet. Kind of looks like a fish. Alright, moving on to the back straps. Running down both sides of the spine right here. So I'm going to come kind of right here at the junction. Sorry about that. Coming right in at the junction below these hams where they meet up with the body. Getting these back straps. I'm going to find the spine. I'm going to put my blade in right next to that spine, and I'm just going to run my knife down the back along that spine as close and as flat as I can get it right now. The more I can get closer to the spine, the more meat I'm going to get on this back strap. I take it all the way down the neck. All that nice, juicy, thick cut of meat. Alright, so once I've got that, same thing, putting my fingers in. The more separating you can do in the sinews, the less cutting, the better your cut of meat will be, just because it's going to be cleaner. Take a big old chunk of fat off. Another one. This dude was healthy. Yeah, a big old slab of fat. Some people do make tallow with that. I have not. I'm not sure I could do venison tallow. Beef tallow, yeah. Venison, it would smell gamey. I don't know. Maybe someday I'll try it. Alright, so then I'm coming in here on this back strap, and I just cut a cross section, basically. Now, I'm going to basically skin this cut of meat down the back. Once I get it started, it's a little easier. Same thing, the more separating you can do with your fingers, cleaner your meat cut is going to be. So, you can see I've got this chunk loose. I'm just going to work its way down. Most of it kind of peels off pretty good. I don't want to tear it, so I'm not going to force it. If it needs to be cut, I'm going to cut it so I don't tear this lovely back strap. You can see where I'm coming down the side here. I want this whole thing, exposing the ribs here. Gorgeous cut of meat. This is going to be cut into some butterfly steaks. It's my favorite to do with the back straps. So I'm catching the rib here, a little too deep. bring it back. I would rather have a little too much on this cut of meat. I can trim it up when I take it inside to prepare it for freezing. That is easy. I would rather have too much and have to do some extra trimming. Take it down, you can see it's just pulling off. Nice, beautiful tender backstrap. Look at that, baby. That's good stuff right there. So that'll be a nice pile of steaks. All right. In the bag with the tenderloins, and I'm gonna get the other one. Backstrap number 2, here we go. Coming in at that junction. Just getting straight across. Do go into the body cavity. Not a problem, that's just fine. It's a little narrow. There we go. And then, finding my spine, sliding my knife in right next to that spine, and I'm gonna take it all the way down. The knife is getting dull. I should have stopped and sharpened it, but I didn't. Save yourself the time and hassle. Sharpen your knife when you need to. Cutting down that spine. Sorry, he's spinning so bad. There we go. Lots of thick sinew on this guy. It's hard to cut through. This one's a little tougher than the last one. There we go. Now we're through it. Alright, so running down that spine. I don't know if you can see that, sorry, but you saw the last one, so you get the idea. Down to the neck. Reaching in, using my fingers, just peeling that back a little, getting it freed up. Using your knife when you need to. Don't want to tear this lovely cut of meat, especially getting it started. Don't be afraid to just cut. Make sure you get it nice and whole. There we go. This guy's got lots of fat. Really does kind of get gummed up sometimes. Alright, so I'm taking a little too much on the side. That's why it's getting hung up. There we go. Okay. Cut off this big old slab of fat. That's what's hanging me up. There we go. Cut when you need to. Like I said, basically just skinning it off. Beautiful. Another lovely backstrap in the bag. Alright, now getting these hams. So you can see what I'm left with. I trimmed a little bit of rib meat off. I didn't have the video running, sorry. But you can see this is pretty trimmed up. Got some neck meat off of there, got some ribs off of there, backstraps are gone. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this rib cage off, and then I'm going to get these hams. So I'm going to go ahead and take this skin in. It's going to gum up your saw if you try to just saw through all this tissue. So I'm just taking that down to the, backbone there. And then I've got the pelvis pretty much in also all the way. Trim up through some of this, make sure that's to the bone, which it is. Alright, so I'm going to grab my saw, do a cut, and then cut the legs off and put them all in the bags. So, give me a second here, I'm going to get situated, get a new bag for the rib cage. I just bag everything up, it makes it easier to dispose of. And get it ready to go. So, in 1 sec. Alright, I've got a bag up on the rib cage. I don't care if it just drops. And I'm going to cut here through the pelvis, split those hams in two. Here we go. Alright, they're split. I'm going to grab a bag for the hams, and then I'm going to cut those too. I'm one bag short and too lazy to go get another one from the house, so I'm going to put both of the hams in one bag. They're not that big. Only reason I would put them in two is just because of weight. Alright, so same dealio. I'm just going to cut through the meat and tissue so the saw can get through a little easier. Not going to cut that tendon because it will fall on my face. So I'm going to do my best to not do that. Alright, do that one. Give it a little cut. And this part is a lot harder with one person. I recommend 2 people. Have somebody to hold this ham because it's going to spin all over. But I don't have another person, so let's see what I can do. Let's go this way. There we go. See, that's the tendon doing its tendon thing. Ham is going in the bag. If you were worried, we're good. And then I'm going to lay this underneath, see if I can catch the second ham on its way down. Oh, perfect. It actually is just caught on some tissue right now. Take advantage of that, and then I can catch it and not drop it on the gravel. Hopefully, it's heavy. Still almost dropped it. And lovely ham that I will debone and process another day in the warmth. Alright. There she be. I'm gonna throw these feet in with the rest of my debris just because it's easier to dispose of. But now I have bags of quarters, bags of yummy goodness, and then over there I've got bags of grossness. So, alright, there is the skinning and quartering, and if y'all are interested, I will show you the deboning and processing too. I'm not going to show you every step, or because it's an hours process, but I can show you a few of them so you can get the gist of it. So, yeah, like I said, I'm not a pro, not a professional, not the best out there, not the fastest. I'm sure a lot of you guys have done it yourselves and found better ways and are thinking, what is this idiot doing? But it works for me. I am not a pro. I am a DIY and have figured this out. So, with some help, I didn't figure it out by myself. But, yeah, so there we go. Meat going into the freezer. I'm going to chill it for a little bit and then deal with it tomorrow. So, let me know what you think. Thanks.